Do you love breakdowns? Do you need stats? Do you crave insight? Download the AllStar app. UFC, Bellator, PFL 1 Championship, and more. Ad-free, fully customizable. Download the best app in the business. Link in descriptions. Co-main, Fiziev versus Gaethje. I had Fiziev. I picked him to win this fight, and I thought he won the first 2 rounds, to be honest with you. This is where the judging comes in, the horrific judging. Paul Sutherland gave Gaethje a 10-8 round for the third. What is going on, James? What the hell? Who is Paul Sutherland? He's becoming famous for the wrong reasons.
Honestly, man, I've said it a few times, to people that have asked me about the judging and what went on yesterday. And I've said I'm almost ashamed to be English. It was in England. I'm almost ashamed because now England were already known for like some poor judging, right? Now we're known even more. And I don't want us to be known for that, right? But whatever, I can't do anything about Paul Sutherland giving Justin Gaethje a 10-8 round free. That was probably, I mean, I don't think you can get a worse scorecard than that in terms of a single round. I mean, maybe there's been something comparable, but there's no argument for it. We could debate for like 20 minutes on why it shouldn't be, but even a child could score that correctly. Like there's no words I can say today that is gonna describe why Paul Sutherland made that choice. It wasn't a 10-8. There's no argument for it. It's actually so crazy because in the first 60 seconds of that round, Fiziev hit Gaethje with the biggest shot that he landed all fight. And Gaethje actually, I thought he switched off for a second, right? I thought he got knocked out for a second. His center of gravity dropped. His knees buckled a little bit. I thought Gaethje was about to put him out. That was in the same round that Gaethje got a 10-8. I mean, it's just unbelievable. In terms of the actual fight, I scored Fiziev as the winner. I thought he got a 10-9 round 1 and 2, and then I thought Gaethje won the third round fairly clearly. And I thought it was fairly easy to score. Like, I didn't think that it would be controversial. But at that point, that was the co-main event. We had already had 13 prior fights, and a bunch of those fights were scored terribly. So I already knew that there could be some bad, judging in that fight. So although I had scored it 2-1 fairly comfortably for Fiziev, I wasn't confident going into the decision that he was going to get it, And honestly, seeing a Justin Gaethje, I didn't think anything could surprise me at that point. But yet again, I was surprised by the judging because they gave Gaethje a 10-8 round free. But it was insane, man. I guess you can argue that Gaethje won the fight. Maybe he won round 2 and 3. I thought it was close. But you can't argue that it was a 10-8 round free. But yeah, I mean, I say Fiziev won the fight. But it was a good war, man. Justin Gaethje shocked me a little bit because I didn't think he could take the shots that he did. I know he's got a good chin, but he wasn't cut at all. He wasn't bruised at all. If you compare Gaethje's face to Fiziev's face, you would think that Gaethje maybe sparred backstage and Fiziev was the one fighting. But they was actually fighting each other, and Fiziev actually landed more cleaner strikes on him. It was crazy, man. That guy must have rubber skin. But it was a great fight overall. Again, marred by the judging, though.
Well, Gaethje, he has that BJ Penn gene, right? Where you don't really get bruised or cut at all, right? If you watch Gaethje's fights in the past, he doesn't really get much bruising. He doesn't really get cut at all. And he gets hit with some crazy power, right? And he loves it. He loves to get hit with that crazy power. And he got hit with a lot of crazy power in this fight. Fiziev, if you look at his past, he's always cut. He's always bruised. And even in his wins, right? He gets hit. He likes to get hit, To me, I think Gaethje's like kind of like the second wave, or not Gaethje. Fiziev is kind of like the better version of Gaethje, but Fiziev is much younger. When he gets better, when he gets, more time in that cage, he'll become like a Gaethje, but just a better version of him eventually. This is how I feel. But I thought Fiziev won the fight, the first 2 rounds. If you scored like round by round, but at the end of the fight, if you look at the third round, one thing that was happening during the third round as well, and on top of like Fiziev's face just bleeding everywhere, was like the crowd yelling Gaethje, Gaethje throughout the third round. And maybe Sutherland's like, oh, I don't know what I'm watching, but it seems like the crowd knows what they're watching, so Gaethje must be winning this fight. And J-Spec, what do you think, man? What did you think about the fight? Did you think Gaethje or what is his name, Fiziev won?
Well, I gotta borrow some of your lines from earlier, man. Even a child could have scored this correctly. That was a good one, dude. this fight was clear as day. I made the comment during the watch party, like the only way you could think Justin won that fight is if you just walked in during the third round because the damage that Fiziev was wearing all over his face, right? Like if you didn't see the previous 2 rounds, you'd be like, oh, I guess Justin's winning this fight. I'm glad I made it in time to catch the last round. Uh, there was something Fiziev did a little bit in his, in the he was his pedal was down for so long. I think he spent just a little bit too much gas and didn't really take those couple. Crafty fighters can take a 30 seconds off in the ring while still looking like they wanted to fight. Fiziev just kept walking in the front door while he didn't have the juice to pull it off, and he was getting caught a lot in that third round, but not enough to make a 10-8. Not enough. He never got staggered, wobbled, no stanky leg, no nothing. He wasn't even backing up really. Like there was no reasonable cause, as brought up earlier, to score this a 10-8 in any way, shape, or form. On the other side, man, I want to talk about Sutherland, man. Like we saw earlier in the match twice, earlier in the card, that Sutherland was just doing weird, wild stuff. Like, I mean, I don't know if he's on his phone, digging his nose. I don't know what he's doing, but it was not judging properly. I know we'll get to it, but like in the Omar Morales fight, he went 30 for Morales. Like what? Like so. Anyways, back to this fight. I mean, I know the judges rotate, and I was like, man, whenever this guy keeps rotating back into whatever fight he gets to do next, it's gonna be a shit show. And unfortunately, it has to be a fight that kind of matters a lot and shouldn't have gone this way. I actually called for his immediate resignation. I thought that's the only way to fix this. If England wants to be better or look better, I said this dude just to get needs to see the door like immediately. That's my solution to that. And last top thing about this is the kind of stuff that makes me spend time defending against the casuals, saying, "Oh, it's rigged. It's rigged. There's juice in the game. Blah 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 blah. Conspiracies." It's hard when you have stuff like this happening. So anyways, that's the end of my campaign. Fiziev won, dude, straight up.